Hi, my tribe. It's Jess with Life Force. So good to see each and every one of you today. And thank you so much for joining and taking a look at what I have to share. I was so pleasantly surprised yesterday. I was in session, and as soon as I was done, I was typing up an energy report, and this awesome email came through from one of my Vibe Tribe members, and it was just so awesome to read. And when I was reading it, it just really gave me this excitement and this joy, and it was so inspiring. I was sharing with my husband today, like just sharing with him what we can look back from the way we were living to the way we were thinking to the way that we valued life, valued money, and all these things, and how much has changed in such a positive manner for our lives. And then I got this beautiful email. I went ahead, I got permission. Thank you so much for giving me permission to share these beautiful, impactful words, your testimony, your breakthroughs that you're having. It's so inspirational that, I mean, after I read it, I was so inspired. But if you haven't had a chance yet, take a look at that testimony. That testimony, I really believe, can resonate with so many of us, that we are taught in our society that we can undervalue our happiness and our health so that we can value the wealth that comes in, and that we can compromise ourselves that way. And I was like, what a great message that when my friend, my Vibe Triber, he went ahead and sent this to me, that I was like, gosh, I'm like, I told him, like, your words are so inspirational that I know that that it not only did it resonate with me, but I know that it resonates with others because of the work that I do, and I see what we put ourselves through to try to accomplish and to keep up, like what was said in his testimony, keeping up with the Joneses. But the one thing that I wanted to share that really stuck out to me, there's a lot of things that he said that really stuck out to me. Like he said, money is simply energy, and I have placed it on a pedestal because I thought it would put me in a place in our society that brought me a sense of superiority and belonging, obvious insecurities I had within myself at the time. Within myself is what he says, end of quote. And so at that time, he's reflecting back of where his growth is at. And the part that I wanted to share with all of you that really stuck out to me is right here where he says, I identified my net worth as my worth as a human being. Whew. Again, at the time he said, I identified my net worth as my worth as a human being. And I love that he ends it with, and that is farther from the truth. How many of us have lived in this mentality that we have to constantly hustle, bustle, move, sacrifice our relationships, not go to our children's practices, or see the people that we love and care about, family and friends, to do certain things because we had to be grinding all the time just so we can pay our bills? What kind of life is that? Constantly always having to live to see what bills you got to pay off next, and oh, you got this next debt, and that's a lot. And I know that we've got placed in that kind of function in the society, but now we've got to change that. Yes, we're going to keep working. Yes, we're going to keep being responsible and taking care of our things. But what about inserting joy? Inserting where we can look at life as an adventure, and that we can do something amazing. So, like, for example, little shifts that I've made is that I had long days. Well, at the end of the day, I'm finding something that I want to do, that I like, that I can enjoy and experience. Because no matter what, I got to do work, I got to do household things, the usual that all of us have to. But have we put into practice being able to enjoy activities or people, or just even a simple thing? I was telling the person I was working with today that gave me permission to share his testimony. I was like, I have a full day today, but after work, I'm going to do something for me. That could be me putting on my favorite music, driving, picking up maybe my favorite, drink. And I'm not talking about alcohol. I mean, just like whatever. It could be a smoothie. These are one of my favorite drinks. Not that I get sponsored or anything, but if you want to sponsor, no, just saying, seriously, I love these drinks. But, little simple things. And the reason why I wanted to share this with him share this with all of you is because I've been able to work with this individual. It's not even been a year, but just as I expected, with his due diligence and him really dedicated to making shifts in his life that can support him to achieve his goals, to feel fulfilled, to be able to grow and evolve, witnessing the beautiful transformation that is taking place. And so I wanted to share this with all of you. Now, in my past videos, I was talking about what is emotional immaturity, what does lack of spiritual maturity look like? And so I want to kind of go into about what is spiritual growth and what is emotional growth. Well, when you have spiritual growth and emotional growth hand in hand, it equals transformation. Spiritual growth, imagine like that spiritual maturity, it involves our relationships with ourselves. How do we treat ourselves, number one? Are we taking care of our priorities? That could be our health. It could be certain types of responsibilities. It could be different things. And are you taking care of you? Now, that's something that I struggled with for the majority of my life. I got so used to the hustle, the bustle, the chaos, the constant hitting deadlines that, I still do certain things like till this day where I do check mark list. And that's cool. But then I was losing the other part. Yes, I was super responsible. Yes, I was making sure everything was taken care of. Everyone that I love and everyone that comes to me, everyone's taken care of. But what was lacking was I wasn't giving myself more enjoyable moments of adventure, because once the pandemic happened, me traveling, all the life that I used to know, it all went away. And so I had to reinvent and do a different type of version of my life. And that's what I'm sharing with all of you. And that's why I'm sharing his testimony, because what we're doing is that we are changing our perspective. Our choices are changing our circumstances. And that's really exciting news, that you can actually do that. And we're not saying that it has to be major grand moments of, major changes. It's the little ones. It's those little increments of changes of perspective and choosing how we want to enjoy life and how are we going to balance it, and like I'm teaching this weekend, Reiki 1 and 2 to 2 awesome students. I'm so excited to work with these lovely ladies. I've had a great privilege to work with one since the beginning of my practice. That was back in the day when I was only serving select people. She has been with me since then and now will become a Reiki 1 and 2 practitioner. The other lady that I'll be working with, she was my first friend that I got to encounter and meet here in Colorado. And I'm so excited for her because this is something that Spirit had spoken to her back in the day, and of her growth of her own business and her wellness and what she's doing, and she's fulfilling it. And so she's chosen me to be her teacher. I'm genuinely honored and excited. And so I wanted to share with all of you that your spiritual growth, my friends, equates about how you take care of you, number one. Where are you at right now? You can know all the wonderful affirmations and all the vernacular that would share and display that you're super spiritual. You can wear all the crystals you want. You can drink all the green smoothies you want, but are you taking care of you? So that spiritual growth involves the relationship with, number one, yourself. Because when you're taking care of yourself, then the way that you interact and how you treat yourself definitely displays a domino effect with everyone else. And so your spiritual growth is going to determine how are you taking care of you and how is it influencing the others that you are surrounding yourself with. Your growth in virtues changes. We were just talking, the lovely friend of ours that allows us to share his testimony. I love what he said. He says, just my whole perspective in valuing my life, valuing myself, I started realizing, then why am I wasting my time with certain people that would only want me for their entertainment or for their convenience? There wasn't anything genuinely where it was of a deeper foundation that he was wanting. And so his values, his virtues, they're shifting because he's not the same person. So he's not walking around with the same self-esteem or the same perspectives of life. He's altering them because he's made the choices. He's making the changes. And so when I share with you spiritual growth, it's your growth in virtues, your values. It's the way that you are just one with your higher self. When your higher self says, hey, no, you don't need that extra cup of coffee today. You've already had 3. Why don't we cut down 1 today? It's listening to our higher self when our higher self says, don't make that drunk text call right now to your ex. You know, you're just feeling lonely and sad. It's that spiritual growth displays how we are connected to our own ability of our intuition, how we commune with maybe your angelic team or your spirit team. And some people do, some people don't. But that shows that you are acknowledging and giving gratitude and respect and honor to those celestial beings. It could be your angels, it could be your spirit animals, it could be your ancestors that are still interceding on your behalf. It's also spiritual growth can look and display as a beautiful connection to divine creator. Now we can all use different words, different religions, whatever that connection is, that is all very personable. And not anybody should ever, in my opinion, I believe that we should not tell another how one's loving connection and faith system should look like, just because it may not look like ours. Also, the other part that I was writing down is about what is spiritual growth is giving yourself the greater discernment. A lot of times when we have discernment, we ignore it. What is discernment? It's that inner sense inside, that deep sense that we all have. It'll tell us to do something, to avoid something, not to do something. And a lot of the times as humans, because we really want what we want, and we're like, we'll deal with the consequences later. That's where you start seeing that's the lack of spiritual growth, right? Because they're not really paying attention. When you are growing, you're looking at everything in a bigger, larger perspective. And you're saying, well, if I go and party all this weekend and I only put a few hours into the test, I'll probably pass. I'm pretty good at it. And a lot of the times our ego gets in our way, and then eventually that behavior catches up and we start behaving that way in all of these areas. Here's something I want to share with you that I got. It was so interesting, and it's all related to this. The way that we are as humans, our growth system. So say, for example, and it can go for good and for bad. We first start off with an opportunity. An opportunity presents itself. And then at that point, it's up to us as humans to decide whether we want to take forward with that opportunity. So when that opportunity arises, then the next step happens. Either you take it or you don't. Okay? So let's say you accepted it, or you say you didn't take it. So either one. So there's that next step. After that, then it goes into, so we make a choice, right? And then afterwards, it goes into an action. So for example, the action could be, to do something or to stop, right? So then it goes into the action. After that action, it becomes a pattern. So now that pattern is an intention that becomes a habit. And so I share that because that could go for good and bad, whatever. And I hate using the word bad, but then my husband, he's so cute. He was like, well, there is terms of bad in some levels, and not as a with that. Obviously, bad could be someone that is trying to hurt another without, being able to defend themselves and things of that nature, or being dishonorable and attacking people that cannot defend themselves. So those are examples. And so what's happening is that, how do you know that you are learning and that you're growing in that spiritual growth? It's because you're living in a different energy of humility. You're seeing accomplishments being achieved in a different way. Maybe not the way that you want it, but they're being done. So you're beginning to see that those ideals that you may have had may not have gone the way that you wanted, but they're going to your favor regardless. Spiritual growth. Because, like, for example, I had something happen in January that I really, really wanted, and then Spirit was like, you need to channel about certain things right now. And I was like, well, Divine, I don't want to yet because I'm not supposed to during Mercury retrograde. And Divine's like, that's got nothing to do with you. We got to talk to you. And so I got some news, and I was pissed off, and I was sad, and I was hurt, and I was disappointed, but I was already given warnings that it wasn't going to go through. But still, I wanted what I wanted. And so then when it didn't go through, I had my moment, and I spoke to Divine, and I cried it out, and I spoke it out to Divine, and I had this whole hashing it out with my higher self, and with my angels, and talking to God, and all of a sudden I was fine. Spiritual growth. Because back in the day, I would have probably had that conversation. No, I'm going back. Back in the day, I would have had the conversation, still doing what I wanted to do. I had that happen where a certain situation closed for now, and Spirit said, but we're going to show you how these new steps that you're going to make is going to make everything fall into place. And then it starts to serve you. So then in your spiritual growth, you start listening and following your inner instinct, what divine's calling you to do, and you're not resisting anymore. You're just going with the flow. That is another sign of spiritual growth. I also see that spiritual growth can also manifest as when a person continues to work on themselves. They're studying, they're learning, they're practicing, they're expanding, they're releasing, they're progressing, they're shifting, they're changing. They're in a place of understanding and acceptance, of owning up to their choices. They are holding themselves responsible. They are very accountable, dedicated beings. That's another sign of emotional growth, of spiritual growth. Now let me go into emotional growth, because in his testimony, the reason why I have his testimony attached to this video, I was actually writing these notes yesterday, but I had such a long day that I was like, normally I would have pushed through, and I said, no, I'm going to go and rest and give myself a chance to just enjoy my family, and I did. So I'm making wonderful changes for myself. Emotional growth. Emotional growth maturity involves effectively guiding your emotions by reason. Let me say that again. Emotional maturity involves effectively guiding your emotions by reason. For example, emotional arguments, disagreements, and unnecessary, volatile interactions with others are no longer displayed. Because why? Emotional growth. You're realizing that there's times when you have to speak up. There's times that you must go into battle, but you got to know when. What was it? The Texas Hold'em? You got to know when to fold them. And it's not because if you don't face it, that doesn't mean that you're running away or not hiding. But it's like sometimes the silence must be the greatest display of boundaries, of what you're truly expressing. So emotional maturity allows you to know how, when others want to come at you and attack you and fight you and tell you off, and they're talking crap behind your back and they're just all up in your business, that shows you where they're at in their emotional maturity. And if anyone believes those people that are, spewing rumors about you, then that shows where they're at in their emotional growth too. Not so long ago, I've had situations with people that I cared about where they wanted me to choose or to unfriend or to not talk to certain people. And I was like, what are we, in high school? I don't play those games. Look, man, you guys have a disagreement. That's between you two. It's not okay. But I also got to assess and see what their dynamic of that relationship is. So maybe that's why they have those issues. But me with that same person, I don't have those issues because we have a different boundary dynamic. And I'm not going to punish someone unless they were doing it directly to me, unless it was god awful, like someone was, stealing or causing some major harm. Then I may actually have a talk with the person and say, you know what, what's up with that? Like, let's, it has nothing to do with me, but now I'm concerned. How are you going to treat me? That's when I can go ahead. Emotional maturation, emotional growth. So creating healthier boundaries for yourself is emotional growth. What does that look like? Well, when people are trying to attack you or get you to fight with them, or this toxic exchange of conversations or disagreements or what have you, you got to put those boundaries down. Because you could just let those persons yell all they want till they turn blue. Because no matter what you're going to try to do, they're going to still have their opinion of you, of whatever that may be. You could try to convince them, but if the person, you also got to use your discernment. If the persons are already adamant in their thought process and behaviors, then you got to make a choice whether you want to have to deal with that or not. So healthy boundaries for yourself. Number one, emotional growth. Secondly, recognizing when it's time to connect and disconnect. A lot of us, I've heard throughout my years of practice, people will say, well, we've been friends for over 10 years. This is my friend from grade school. But now their relationship has changed. And what they used to know doesn't exist because we all grow up and life changes us and things happens to everybody. And so it changes and alters how we interact with others. but you got to know when to walk away. Emotional growth. And the thing is too, here's another thing that I also want to share that I've noticed in my practice, that with human interactions, there's nothing wrong with meeting other people's expectations until it's an unhealthy issue and it's getting you too preoccupied with doing so, whatever it is that they expect you to do. And it's not really what you wanted to do. It's what is expected of you, is what's demanded of you. It's like you didn't get a choice. And that's when you got to say, I'm not going to allow myself to lose track of who I am by trying to meet other people's expectations. Emotional growth. Wow, that's a big one. That's a big one. Because we get caught up the way we were taught in our family dynamic, possibly school systems, wherever we're at, that we must follow people's expectations. That means you better go to university or you're not valued in this world. Put yourselves in all kinds of debt. Now, that's great. Go to university. I'm not putting it down, but then don't put down the person that does not resonate and that can still be successful, educated, and capable by not going to university. Perhaps life taught them and they're able to do things and talents without a university degree. Maybe they went to a vocational school, a training school. Maybe they didn't do any of that. I've known people that are so successful, so brilliant, and didn't even graduate from high school. No, I'm not saying not to graduate from high school. I'm just saying that there's different ways of being successful without always having to break your back to say that you're successful, to please your parents, to please your spouses, your friends, to look like you're, what is it, flexing, whatever. That's exhausting. So again, emotional growth. Here's another thing that I do share as we are learning about emotional maturity. Learn that self-love for yourself. Creating healthier boundaries. Perhaps not taking a phone call when you know a person is hot on the other end. It's just going to only create the heat to rise. Another example is maybe an email was sent to you and they're attacking you because they want to feel better because maybe you said something, maybe just you being who you are triggered them in a certain way or what have you, so they're ready to attack you. Do you want to answer that email? What's good? Maybe you can. Maybe you'll answer in a way that's very healthy and sincere and very honest, but not in a manner that's demeaning. What I'm trying to say is that emotional growth and spiritual growth must go together. When one is imbalanced, and it could be in so many things in life, it doesn't allow you to have a very smooth flow with grace and with ease. It gets really difficult, and that's why a lot of us want to throw in the towel, because we really didn't implement certain boundaries. So we're still complaining about the same issue. And then what we talk about is that the same issue will keep showing up through different people until you've learned said issue, that lesson you must learn. So I wanted to share his testimony because I've witnessed his spiritual growth and emotional growth, and it was so inspirational, and it got me so excited, and seeing how things are just changing so beautifully within himself, his demeanor, he's illuminated differently, his communication is more assertive and comfortable and respectful, and he's at ease, and it takes time. You know, emotional growth and spiritual growth, it's going to take time, and we're going to have it throughout our life because it's a day-to-day practice. It's what we do. It's a lifelong dance. And so I wanted to share this all with you and hope that if you're going through some things, that may it inspire you to give you the courage and the motivation and the determination, that drive, and that you too can have a story similar to this one that I displayed today, that you will discover and identify that you are worthy. And you don't need to live in misalignment any longer. There is no need to feel like you got to keep up with the Kardashians, or they can barely keep up with themselves. And being able to truly be fulfilled in your life. No matter whatever you are experiencing and learning and navigating through, may life be an adventure. May you learn and embrace this beautiful transformation within yourself. You're worth it. And anything worth gaining, it's going to take and require your determination and commitment. It's going to require your devotion, your inspiration, your courage. And so I just wanted to share this all with you because it was such a beautiful testimony. I was just rejoicing with him today, seeing how his perspectives, because he's chosen, because of the work that he's dedicated himself to do. He is a different person. His life is so much more self-fulfilling. So I just wanted to share that all with you guys, and let me know, how do you feel? Are you feeling that spiritual growth and emotional growth come in? Because I've noticed with a lot of my Vibe Tribers, they're coming in and they may be in an area of despair, but it's not affecting their organs. It's not affecting their environment. They're just realizing, but they're working it through. They have different coping mechanisms, and it's the coolest thing to witness. So I just wanted to share this all with you. I wish you all love and insight and healing. And why I speak those blessings upon you when I end my video is that because what we speak can bring life and it can bring death. But I speak life to all of you because this is a life worth us living. That's why we got here to begin with. So enjoy your day, my friends. And remember that you alone can determine how you want to live this life. Spiritual growth and emotional growth come hand in hand. And it is a daily thing for us to learn. But all it takes is for you to make that choice. May that choice be for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for you that joined me. Many blessings to each and every one of you. May this be an inspiration for you, and may this be the signal that you may have needed to start placing that focus and energy not onto everyone else, because that can be exhausting, and sometimes it can be impactful, but really, how about shifting it within you and then watch how it influences everyone else around you. Thank you. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Take care.